Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive with us. Today, we're tackling something I think we all struggle with, sometimes staying motivated and actually reaching those goals we set for ourselves.
It's funny because we're actually using a transcript from this podcast called Rise and Thrive as our source material today.
Oh,
And they
cool.
actually had a whole episode about it.
Perfect.
And
But we're going to be diving deep.
looking at a bunch of their practical tips, some scientific insights, and even some inspiring stories to, get us all fired up.
I love it.
Yeah.
I am so ready. So, where do we even begin with something as big and kind of vague as motivation?
Well, Rise and Thrive actually starts by kind of flipping the script on how we usually think about motivation.
Okay.
They say that, a lot of us think of motivation as this, like feeling that it just hits you out of the blue like a bolt of lightning.
Yeah, that's definitely how I've always thought about it. I'm just waiting for that burst of inspiration.
But they actually argue that it's not like that at all. Like they're saying it's more about making a choice. Like motivation is a decision, not just a feeling we wait around for.
That's pretty different. And to be honest, it makes me realize maybe I've been approaching motivation all wrong this whole time.
Yeah.
But if it is a choice, how do you actually choose to be motivated, especially on those days when you just don't feel like doing anything?
That's where knowing your why comes in.
Okay.
Rise and Thrive really emphasizes that it's not enough to just set a goal. You got to have a really strong reason behind it.
So a deeper meaning.
Yeah, like a driving force.
Yeah.
And when you're clear on why you're doing something, it's like having a compass or something. Keeps you going even when things get tough or you're just not feeling it.
I love that. Like a purpose that keeps you on track.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's all about that deeper connection to what you're doing. But Rise and Thrive also mention the science behind motivation. They talk about the dopamine system in our brains. I'm not a scientist, so
Me neither.
break it down for me.
It sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
So they basically say that when we achieve stuff, even small things, it triggers this feel-good chemical called dopamine in our brains.
Oh, okay. So it's like a reward system.
Exactly. Our brains are wired to celebrate progress.
Yeah.
So each time you accomplish something, even something small, you get a little dopamine hit.
That makes sense. You get a little win, your brain gives you a high five, and then you're like, all right, what's next?
Exactly. It makes you want to keep going and achieve even more.
Okay, so it's like a positive feedback loop.
Yeah, totally.
I like that. But what about when, things don't go to plan? What about setbacks?
Well, Rise and Thrive talks about those too.
Okay, good, because those definitely happen.
Oh, yeah, they're a part of life. But instead of calling them setbacks, they use the word redirection.
Redirection. Interesting word choice.
Yeah, because it shifts your thinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of viewing a setback as a total failure, you see it as a chance to learn and adjust. And maybe even find a new, better path forward.
That's actually a really great way to look at it. Okay, this way's blocked. Time to find a detour.
Right. It takes away some of the sting, for sure.
Totally. But did Rise and Thrive offer actual strategies for dealing with these redirections?
They did. They actually gave 5 really specific strategies for staying motivated overall.
Oh, nice. Okay, lay them on me.
All right, so they talk about visualization. We touched on that a bit already. Then there's morning routines, affirmations, accountability partners, and rest.
Wow, that's a lot to unpack, and they all sound really interesting.
They do.
So all toolbox of motivation strategies.
Exactly. Each one kind of taps into a different aspect of motivation, and they all work together to create this foundation for getting things done.
Okay, but can we just start with visualization for a second? Is it really as simple as just picturing yourself succeeding at something? Does that actually work?
Well, you'd be surprised. Visualization is a super powerful technique. It's used by athletes, entrepreneurs, you name it. The key is to make your visualizations really vivid, really detailed.
Engage all your senses.
Exactly. It's like you're creating a mental movie of your success, and that can have a real impact on your subconscious.
So it's not just wishful thinking.
Nope. It's about intentionally creating a mental blueprint for what you want to achieve. And the more you practice it, the stronger those neural pathways in your brain become, which makes it easier to stay focused and motivated when you're actually facing those challenges.
That's pretty cool. But what about morning routines? I'm not really a morning person, more of the night owl, to be honest.
Well, the thing about morning routines is that they're really about setting yourself up for success.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Even just 15 minutes of meditation or a quick workout can make a big difference in how you feel for the rest of the day.
So it's about being intentional with how you start your day instead of like stumbling around and just reacting to whatever comes at you.
Exactly. It helps you stay grounded and focused on your goals.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Now, what about affirmations? I've always been a little iffy about those. Sometimes they feel a bit cheesy.
I know what you mean. But affirmations are all about changing those negative thoughts we all have. It's like intentionally replacing them with positive ones that are more aligned with your goals.
So it's like rewiring your inner dialogue.
Exactly.
Hmm?
Instead of focusing on like what you're bad at, you're choosing to remind yourself of your strengths.
Okay, I can see how that could be powerful. So it's not about like repeating generic phrases. It's about choosing words that really resonate with you and your
Right.
goals.
It's about finding affirmations that actually feel empowering to you.
Got it. Now, I've never had an accountability partner, always been pretty independent,
Yeah.
but I can see how having someone to like check in with could be helpful, especially when you're just not feeling it.
Absolutely. Accountability partners are great for keeping you on track. Like, you share your goals with someone you trust, and they become your, like, cheerleader and support system.
It's like having a teammate for your goals.
Yeah, totally. Someone to celebrate your wins with and help you get back up when you stumble.
Now, the last strategy was rest, which honestly feels like the one I need to work on the most.
Rest is so important. It's not just about being lazy.
Okay, good.
It's about taking care of yourself so you can be your best self.
Yeah, I guess it's like recharging your batteries so you can actually keep going.
Exactly.
But Rise and Thrive also talked about stories like, not just our own stories, but hearing about other people who like overcome stuff and achieved amazing things.
Oh, yeah, they had this really inspiring story about a woman named Sarah from New York.
Hmm.
She lost her job, but then turned her love of baking into a successful business.
Oh, wow. That is inspiring.
Yeah, it shows that even when things are tough, you can find a way forward.
Totally. Like those redirections we talked about earlier, they can lead to amazing things.
Definitely. And they ended the episode with a quote from Winston Churchill. He said, "Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts."
Wow, that's powerful.
It really is.
So what stands out to you the most from everything we've talked about? What resonates with you?
You know, I think what's really hit me is that motivation is a choice we make every day. It's not something we just wait for. It's something we cultivate.
That is incredibly empowering.
It is. You have more control over your motivation than you do.
And Rise and Thrive gave us some really great tools to use. But I think we've only scratched the surface here.
Yeah, definitely.
In the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore how to actually put these insights into action and like make them work in our lives.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. So we just finished exploring a lot of really cool ideas from the Rise and Thrive podcast, like how motivation isn't something that just like happens to us. It's something we actively choose.
Yeah, I'm really starting to see motivation in a whole new light now.
And remember how our brains actually reward us for making progress, that whole dopamine thing?
Oh, yeah, that was fascinating.
I think that leads us right back to those 5 strategies we talked about before: visualization, morning routines, affirmations, accountability partners, and of course, rest.
Okay, yeah, let's dive into those a little deeper.
All right, so first up, let's revisit visualization.
Okay.
Now, is it really as simple as just closing your eyes and picturing yourself achieving a goal?
Yeah, is it really that easy? Like, does that actually have an impact?
It might sound super simple, but visualization is seriously powerful.
Really?
I mean, everyone from like Olympic athletes to successful entrepreneurs use it.
Wow. Okay, I have no idea.
Yeah. The key is to make those visualizations as vivid and detailed as possible.
Okay, so like really engage all your senses.
Exactly. You want to almost create a mental movie of yourself succeeding, and that can actually have a huge effect on your subconscious mind.
Interesting. So it's not just like daydreaming.
Not at all. It's more like intentionally designing a blueprint for success. It's almost like tricking your brain into believing that success is already within reach.
That's really interesting. It reminds me of how some athletes use visualization to like improve their performance. They mentally rehearse every step, and it actually helps them perform better in real life.
Exactly. The more you visualize, the stronger that connection becomes in your brain, which makes it easier to stay motivated even when you hit roadblocks.
Okay, that's definitely something I want to try. Now, what about morning routines? Like I said before, I'm more of a night owl, but I'm willing to give it a shot if it really helps with motivation.
I think you'd be surprised how effective a good morning routine can be.
Okay.
Think of it as a way to prep your mind and body for success.
So like getting in the zone.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't have to be super complicated.
Okay, good.
Even just starting your day with like 5 minutes of meditation or a quick walk can totally shift your energy and focus.
So it's more about just starting your day with intention rather than just like rolling out of bed and immediately getting swept up in whatever comes at you.
You got it. It's about taking control of your day before it takes control of you.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And, don't forget about self-care in those morning routines.
Oh, yeah, that's important.
Even just like 5 minutes of stretching or listening to your favorite music can set a positive tone for the whole day.
Love that. Okay. Self-care in the morning noted. All right, now let's talk about affirmations. Honestly, I'm still a little skeptical, but I'm open to learning more.
I get it. They can sound a little cheesy,
Yeah.
but there's actually a lot of power in them.
Really?
It's all about rewiring your subconscious mind.
Okay.
We tend to believe the things we tell ourselves over and over again, whether they're good or bad.
That's true.
So by choosing positive affirmations that are in line with your goals, you're basically planting seeds of success in your mind.
Huh. Okay, so it's kind of like intentionally shifting your focus away from your weaknesses and
Yeah.
towards your potential.
Exactly. You're choosing to focus on your strengths and what you're capable of achieving.
Yeah, I like that.
The key is to pick affirmations that really speak to you personally.
Okay.
Don't just pick generic phrases. Find ones that resonate with your own goals and aspirations.
So even if you don't fully believe them at first, it's about kind of telling yourself a new story about who you are and what you can do.
Yeah, and the more you repeat them, the more those beliefs start to sink in and change how you think and act.
That's pretty cool. Okay, I'm actually starting to warm up to affirmations now.
Awesome.
All right, what about accountability partners? I've always been pretty independent, but I can see how having someone to check in with could be really helpful,
Oh, for sure.
especially on those days when, like, motivation is just nowhere to be found.
An accountability partner can be a game changer,
Yeah.
especially if you struggle with like procrastination or self-doubt.
Oh, tell me about it.
It's all about finding someone you trust, someone who'll support you and, you know, gently nudge you in the right direction.
So it's kind of like having a teammate in your corner helping you stick to the game plan.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes just knowing that someone else is aware of your goals is enough to keep you moving forward.
I can definitely see that. All right, so we've covered visualization, morning routines, affirmations, and accountability partners.
Right.
That brings us to rest, which honestly is probably the hardest one for me to actually prioritize.
I think a lot of people feel that way,
Yeah,
but it's so crucial for motivation.
really. I always feel like I should be doing more, like rest is for when I finished everything.
I totally get it. But we live in a culture that kind of glorifies busyness.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But the truth is, rest is not a reward for hard work.
Yeah.
It's like a key ingredient for success.
Okay, I like that way of looking at it.
Schedule in downtime during your week, just like you schedule meetings.
Hmm.
And don't let anything mess with those breaks.
So it's about being proactive, not just waiting until you're totally burned out and have no choice but to collapse.
Exactly. And rest doesn't have to be, like, passive either.
What do you mean?
It can be anything that brings you joy, recharges your batteries, and gets your creative juices flowing.
Oh, okay, yeah. Like reading a book, going for a walk, spending time with people you love, things that make you feel refreshed and ready to tackle whatever comes next.
Exactly. Now, remember how Rise and Thrive also talked about the power of stories?
Oh, yeah.
Not just our own stories, but like hearing about other people who face challenges and come out on top.
Yeah, that was really inspiring.
Like Sarah's story. Remember?
Yeah, the baker from New York.
Yeah, exactly. Her story was a perfect example of resilience.
And how setbacks can sometimes lead to amazing opportunities.
Definitely. Hearing stories like hers can give us the courage to keep going, even when our own motivation is wavering.
Yeah, it's like a reminder that we're not alone in this journey and that achieving our goals really is possible no matter what obstacles we face.
Totally. It's like tapping into this shared human experience, the drive to grow and achieve.
I love that. But with all this amazing information, all these strategies and insights, how do we actually make them work in our own lives?
That's the million-dollar question, and it's something we'll explore in the next part of our deep dive.
Perfect. I'm ready for it. Okay, so we're back for the last part of our deep dive into motivation. And honestly, I'm feeling super inspired after talking about all this stuff from the Rise and Thrive podcast.
I know, right? We've covered so much good stuff like how motivation is a choice we make, not just a feeling, and how our brains actually reward us for making progress.
Yeah, and all those different strategies, visualization, affirmations, accountability partners, it's a lot to take in.
It is. But now comes the real challenge, putting all this knowledge into practice, making it work in our everyday lives.
Exactly. Because
Right.
it's one thing to understand the concepts, but actually applying them consistently, that's a whole other ballgame.
Totally. So where do we even start?
Well, that's what I'm hoping you can help me with. Like, what are the first steps to, turning these insights into action?
Well, I think it all starts with a little introspection.
Okay, introspection. What does that look like in this context?
It's about asking yourself some key questions.
Okay, like what?
Well, first, think about what really motivates you at your core. What are your values? What are you passionate about? What are those big long-term goals that get you fired up?
Okay, yeah, I can see how that's important.
Once you have a clear sense of your why, your purpose, it becomes so much easier to choose the right strategies and actions to help you get there.
So it's not about just picking a random motivation hack and hoping it works.
Right. It's about finding the tools that are the best fit for you, for who you are and what you're trying to achieve.
Like creating your own personalized motivation toolkit.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
And don't be afraid to experiment a little. Try different things and see what sticks. Maybe visualization really works for you, or maybe you thrive with an accountability partner. It's all about figuring out what's most effective for you.
I love that. Finding what feels empowering.
And remember, this isn't a one-time fix. Motivation is an ongoing process.
Yeah, some days I feel unstoppable, and other days it's like pulling teeth just to get out of bed.
Exactly. There will be ups and downs. That's totally normal.
So how do we deal with those days when motivation is just gone? Like, what's the plan?
That's where having a plan comes in handy. Think about what usually throws you off track.
Okay, like what?
Is it procrastination? Self-doubt. Getting distracted too easily. Once you know your triggers, you can start developing strategies to handle them.
So it's about being proactive instead of just, like, giving in when those challenges pop up.
Exactly. And don't forget to be kind to yourself.
Oh, yeah, self-compassion is so important.
We all slip up sometime, but sometimes it's part of being human. The key is to not beat yourself up when you have an off day or don't quite reach a goal. Just acknowledge it, learn from it, and keep moving forward.
That reminds me of that Winston Churchill quote, "Success is not final, failure is not fatal, it is the courage to continue that counts." Such a good one. Motivation isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up even when it's tough and trusting yourself to keep going.
So powerful. Well, as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm curious what's been the biggest takeaway for you? What's really stuck with you?
Honestly, what's resonated most with me is that motivation is a skill. It's not something you're just born with. It's something you can learn and get better at over time.
I love that.
And the more we understand how motivation works, the more power we have to create the lives we want.
Absolutely. Well, this deep dive has been a game changer for me, and I hope it's been helpful for everyone listening.
I hope so too.
We've explored some amazing insights from Rise and Thrive and hopefully given you some practical tools to help you achieve your goals.
Remember, start small, be consistent, celebrate your wins, and never stop believing in yourself.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us on this motivation adventure, and we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.